Hi everyone, this is Marianne, and I have a new series on my channel called 5-Minute Book Talk, in which I talk for roughly 5 minutes about a book that I have read while I flip through that book. But spoilers are incoming. This pilot episode is about the book The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. Just a super short background, the novel was first published in 1910 in serial form in a magazine. It ran for 10 issues, and then in 1911 it was finally published in book form. It is set in England and is actually a book written for children but became very popular with adults as well. I am almost 50 years old. But I really enjoyed reading this book. Aside from being so easy to read because it is written for children, it was quick to read as well. But I took my time. I really happily imagined myself to be Mary Lennox, the disagreeable child. Kind of a brat, actually. She was even nicknamed Mistress Mary, quite contrary, after the nursery rhyme. She's the main character of the book, and it is so easy to relate with her. Although she's a brat, we understand why she is so, which is because her parents pretty much ignored her since birth and left her in the care of an ayah. It didn't help either that she and her family were living in India at the time, so she didn't have any British children to play with, so she felt alienated because of her race and her class. But when she was 10, she lost her entire family and household to the cholera epidemic in India, so she was transferred to the moors in England to live with her uncle, Mr. Craven, who was her next closest relative and her legal guardian. And that's when the story began to circulate around the secret garden. Aside from Mary, it was also the setting of this English moor that really got to me. The moor was so dark and windy and wonderful, and the house was 600 years old and was said to have 100 rooms. Most of them were locked. And there were several gardens as well, but only one of them was locked, and the key to that secret garden was buried by Mr. Craven, and no one knows where. And the secret garden itself was so beautiful. They brought it back to life with all of the wonderful flowers, but when it was still pretty much dead after being abandoned for 10 years, it still seemed so beautiful to me. I find it quite admirable that the author Frances Hodgson Burnett was able to talk about death in a way that is not scary or threatening for children. Death as a topic is often scary for children, more so especially if it's the death of their parent or a parent. Mary lost both of her parents when she was 10, and when she got to England, she found out that her aunt, Mrs. Craven, had also died 10 years prior, which was the reason why that one secret garden was locked. Colin's father, Mr. Craven, who was said to be a hunchback but really wasn't, he could not look at his own son because his son reminded him too much of his wife that he loved so dearly, but at the same time he was also afraid to lose Colin. So Colin was raised completely shuttered indoors to protect him from accidents, and so Colin grew up believing that he was sick and frail and was going to be a hunchback. Of course, he was also a brat. It was Mary who first made her great character development in the novel. She became less and less of a brat, and she was the one who found the key to the secret garden with the help of a red-breasted robin. And she was the one who found Colin, who was being kept hidden in one of the 100 rooms in the house. Mary also made friends with the house help and made friends with the help's family, specifically the brother and the mother. The character development is quite believable, as children can change so much in so short a time. Later on, we also see Colin's character development. After Mary found his room late one night and they got to talking for a long time about many things, he became less of a brat and his health improved together with his attitude. I cannot blame Colin really, and I cannot blame Mary either for being brats. Their parents really did not give them the emotional care that they needed. I don't think Colin's father was bad. He was just deeply hurt and did not know how to manage his hurt. Mary's mother, though, was very vain and seemed to care only about her looks and her clothes and her parties. And Mary's father hardly appeared in the novel. He was always away. But the novel did not make any judgments on the parents and on any of the characters either. I, as the reader, still felt sympathy for all of them. And I think it is important for children to know that most of the time, right and wrong are very basic non-negotiables. But as we go through life, we spend time with people who are not all bad and not all good, because that is the nature of the human condition. No person is all bad or all good. Most of us are just doing the best that we can basing on our situation at the time. But every single human being has the potential to grow better regardless of age. That's an important lesson for children to know, aside from basic, non negotiable right and wrong. This novel does have a movie adaptation, which I remember watching when I was a child, but I do not remember many details from the movie. But I'm glad I got to read the novel now. It's a children's classic. I highly recommend it, both for children and for adults.